Have you ever experienced a glitch in the Matrix and want to share it with the podcast? Go to astheravendreams.com and click the button to send it my way, or you can always email it to me at astheravendreams@gmail.com. I have a glitch story that I'm sure will be looked at as boring by some people, but I figured I would post it just in case someone found it as bizarre as I did. It happened a few years ago. I was living in my first grown-up apartment, freshly out of school and broke AF. The story involves probably my prized possession, something that I spent way too much money on and absolutely adored. That item would be a hoodie about a certain YouTube channel that doesn't exist anymore. The hoodie itself being half black and half white, and that should tell many people everything they need to know about said hoodie. It was way too much money I didn't really have, but it was something I loved and I wanted my piece of history, so I bought it. I wore that hoodie way too much. It was also sentimental, because I actually bought said hoodie with money that my grandmother had given me for my birthday, literally 3 months before she passed away. So, my point is, I loved that hoodie for multiple reasons. I know this is a lot of context, but it's somewhat important to the whole thing. One day, during lunch, I was eating one of my favorite foods, a local restaurant's coconut chicken curry. Literally my favorite thing in the world. I was also wearing my hoodie because I always wore the hoodie when the weather was cooler outside. Some of you may have put together the issues with this whole thing. White cloth, curry, so forth and so on. Anyway, my dumbass ended up spilling some of the curry on the hoodie. Those of you that like curry probably know that most curries contain turmeric, and turmeric is that fun spice that makes yellow mustard so yellow. And it stains everything and anything that it touches. I was freaking out, because there was now a 2-inch large yellow stain on the white half of my most prized possession. I freaked out, pulled it off, and did everything I could to scrub the stain out. I thought I got it, but I decided to wash it and run it through the dryer to be absolutely certain. Come to find out, this was the dumbest thing I could have ever done. Apparently, heat will actually set turmeric stains, if you don't let the item air dry. So by washing and drying my hoodie so quickly, I made that yellow circle a permanent addition. I ended up hanging the hoodie up and keeping it in my closet, right at the front so I could always see it, but I didn't want to damage it more than I already had. The big yellow stain always taunted me when I looked at the hoodie. I got to the point where I ended up moving it closer to the back so I didn't have to look at it after a couple of months, and eventually it did as all things do. Left my mind entirely and I had moved on with my life. I had bought another hoodie and started wearing it more when I could, but I really didn't think about the stained one much because it wasn't always in front of me. The next year, which would have been around 4 months after the incident occurred with the curry, my lease was up on my apartment, and I was going to move in with one of my friends a bit further into town. It was a move up, so I was excited. The only thing I wasn't looking forward to was packing everything up in boxes. Thankfully, it was just me, so it wasn't like I had a whole lot to pack. I got to my bedroom and started packing up all my clothes when I got to my closet. I was pulling all my shirts and jackets out and got to my prized half-black, half-white hoodie. I was immediately reminded that there was a massive yellow stain on the front of it, and that was why I didn't wear it anymore. Then I got that pang you get when you get reminded of something upsetting. I grabbed the hoodie from the hanger and started looking at the white half to see where the stain was, and I was genuinely surprised. There was no stain. I was shocked. I combed over every single bit of the white. I turned it inside out, I stretched the fabric a bit, trying to see if it was still there in the deeper parts of the cloth, but there was nothing. No yellow stain whatsoever. The hoodie was pristine. The white half was perfectly and immaculately white. There wasn't even a shadow of the stain, no faint yellow, no outline, nothing. It was as if the whole thing never even happened. I stood there just staring at the damn hoodie, my brain doing that full reboot. I'm sure that I had that buffering circle on my face while I tried to piece together what I was looking at, and what I knew to be true. Turmeric stains do not fade, especially when it's set into white fabric, so there was no possible way for this stain to have just vanished with time. Not to mention a few months sitting in the closet wouldn't have been enough to fade. I actually used the flashlight on my phone to look closer at all of the white, and there was absolutely nothing whatsoever. I know that this sounds ridiculous, and again, not creepy like the other stories that you get, but this was such a strange occurrence for me. I loved this hoodie more than anything else I have ever owned, and I was so upset that it had gotten stained. I was brokenhearted that I had damaged something so treasured, which was why I actually put it away, because I was thinking that I didn't want to damage it any more than I already had. It was the strangest thing to be looking at that hoodie and not see a stain, but I was elated that it was back to perfect. I still have the hoodie, stain-free and still in near-perfect condition. I wear it from time to time, but never while eating curry or anything with tomato or chocolate. I pretty much don't wear it while eating, that's the better way to put it. So has anyone else ever had an item they had go through a miraculous fix like this? Anything similar that has left you wondering if you had witnessed reality bending? I considered sending in a picture of the hoodie, but then I realized that I would just be sending you a picture of a plain, unstained hoodie, so that would be silly. Anyway, thank you for reading, and I hope everyone has a lovely day. Hi, Raven. I often listen to your stories on YouTube, and I enjoy them a lot. Makes ironing way less boring. It's a pleasure. I don't know if this story qualifies, you be the judge. Some information. I live in a nursing home for my mental health. Now, this mental health issue is an anxiety disorder, so I'm not out of touch with reality. I am on medication, but not strong medication that would make me forget things or alter my views of reality. The anxiety has gotten a lot better, and I certainly wasn't in a state of panic when this happened. I had not been feeling well the day prior and had eaten somewhat less, and after that slept for a long time, so I did feel somewhat unreal and groggy, but was able to hold a conversation, do my usual stuff, etc. The reason I mention the nursing home is because this means I have a small studio. Bed/living room, and a bathroom. I had planned a conversation with someone about quitting smoking with hypnosis and meditation, and a diet, especially aimed at the underlying factors that make you smoke. I got a WhatsApp message from this person asking if the time we set was still good for me. I replied that I needed to find my microphone as the one on my webcam doesn't work. So I go into a large closet that I have in my studio. It holds my washing machine and above that, some shelves. I knew which shelf it should be on, and there was a big box there full of cardstock, etc. for making cards. I lifted it out, and stuff fell on my head. It was a high shelf, and I cursed some. I put the box on my countertop, which is next to the closet, rummaged around for a bit, found some stuff that I've forgotten was there, and found the microphone and its box. The microphone wasn't in the box. Now, I don't remember where I placed the microphone, but I would say that on the countertop, as it is the closest. I put the box back, and then I look on the counter. No microphone. I checked my dresser, my bookcase, my table, even lifted up towels that were on the bed waiting to be put away. No microphone. A nurse came in. I explained what was going on, and she took the box back out of the closet, didn't find the microphone, and then she helped me look. No microphone. After she left, I kept looking, and then took a break for lunch. In the meantime, I had messaged the person I had the appointment with to say that I had a glitch in the Matrix situation, explained it, and then apologized for messing up his or her schedule. After lunch, I again took the box out of the closet, felt around, looked around. No microphone. I checked lower shelves, checked the bottom of the closet. Nothing. I checked my room. It looked even in the fruit bowl that's on the shelf above my countertop. No microphone. The box, yes. The microphone? No. And someone said that I would probably find it in a weird place later, so I don't know if this is a real glitch, but for now, it really looks like it. I took the microphone out of the closet, and now it's nowhere to be found. So maybe me in a parallel universe has two of them? Thank you for reading, and if you do read this, thanks to everyone else for listening. Hey Raven. So, out of the few stories I have, this one is the most insane. Everything started on a first date. Me and my now ex had traveled 45 minutes to this mountain for a hike. Everything seemed normal at first. The view was beautiful, nothing out of the ordinary. But when we started going down with the sunrise, something changed. It wasn't just that it was crowded and then everyone cleared out, but the forest got quieter. You couldn't even really hear the bugs anymore, and all of the trees started to wobble. It was as if they weren't material. I thought I was dehydrated or hallucinating when my ex had asked me if I'd seen it. We were both witnessing the same thing. It was like water in the sky or watching a television glitch out. I'd never seen the wind move anything like that. The forest almost looked like it was pulling apart and then moving back and forth. We went back to the car and just thought it was super strange. I felt something big behind us, and I saw a bit of a shadow figure, but shrugged it off and didn't really see what it was. Not 20 minutes later, we were going down the highway and I had my first and only UFO sighting. Before that, I didn't really look into aliens or go looking for that experience, but it was the most ridiculous aircraft I have ever seen. It was floating in the sky super fast, bright white and blue, not making a sound, and the shape was weird like a disc. It disappeared into the sky and it was so bizarre not to be able to track where it went. I love meteor showers also, and it was way bigger than any star or comet I had ever seen. I thought people that saw UFOs could possibly take it for a helicopter or a big drone, but to this day I've never seen anything like what that was again. The craziest part was, I decided to Google and see if anyone had made a news report or something. I didn't find anything on that night, but I found articles from years prior where someone else had also seen a UFO over the same mountain. Now, I listened to people's stories of sightings with openness, because that was the weirdest night of my life. Hello, Raven. I've been listening to your content for what feels like forever now, and it always amazes me that so many people have these experiences that I thought I was the only one experiencing. I'm not sure if this would be considered a glitch, but I will share it anyway. It was sometime around late 2019, early 2020, before the great disaster happened. I was staying in Greece at the time as a pro athlete. I'm from California, I should add. This glitch happened during one of my off days. 2 weeks prior, I had bought myself a Nintendo Switch. I wanted to play the popular Zelda game at the time, so I was really excited to play it. The store that I bought it from was far from the apartment I was staying in, so I wouldn't get any opportunities to go back in case something was wrong with it, and unfortunately, there was. When I had gotten home and turned on the Switch, the screen flashed white and a loud static noise started blaring. It was really grating to my ears. No matter how many times I pressed the off button, nothing worked. The noise just kept blaring. It got so bad that I stuffed it under a bunch of my clothes just to block out the noise. Within the 2 weeks of that day, and the day of the glitch, I would occasionally check the Switch out of hope that it would work. Nothing. The same static. Now, back on the day of the glitch. I had gone to a kiosk that was near my apartment to see if maybe they had a phone charger since I had broken mine that day. I motioned to the cashier to my charger port, and he shook his head. Annoyed, I decided to buy myself a bag of chips and noticed some batteries. Now, any normal person would have just moved on, but I could not stop looking at them. They were just normal AA batteries, but I had this really intense ringing in my ear followed by this urge in the back of my head telling me to buy them. I didn't need them, so I managed to break my gaze and continued on my search. After walking to many different shops and kiosks in the area with no luck, I had told myself that I'll just have to let my coach know next time I go to practice, and then headed back home. On the way back was that first kiosk, with the AA batteries. Out of curiosity, I went back to see if I would feel that sensation again. I joked to myself that it would be hilarious if I found a charger there, and to my surprise, there were no batteries, but a phone charger. I was absolutely stunned. I tried to ask the cashier if he had gotten the phone charger while I was gone. In broken English, she explained that they were always there. I was so confused. 1, the first time I went to the kiosk, the cashier confirmed there were no chargers. 2, the AA batteries are nowhere to be found. I was happy that I lucked out, but it was really strange that a joke to myself came true. I heard that same ringing again as I left the kiosk, only the ringing started to sound like the static noise that my Switch made. As another joke, I muttered out loud, "If the universe or God is real, my Switch will be fixed when I get home." The ringing stopped in that moment. The rest of the walk home, I kept replaying what happened at the kiosk over and over, and about what I said about the universe/God. Was it real? There's no way my Switch would be magically fixed. It was still crapped out last night. These were all the thoughts rushing through my head as I entered my apartment. I immediately went to my Switch. I plugged it in and waited for a while that felt like an eternity for the power to charge, at least enough for it to turn on. And turn on, it did. Not only did it turn on, but it was working completely fine. Not a single static noise. No white screen. It was fixed. I just sat there completely in awe at what just happened. But then I had a question. One that I've still been pondering as someone who's agnostic. Was it the universe or God that answered my wish? As many times as I have tried to test it, nothing has happened, so I'm just left to wonder. Hey Raven, I have an update to an experience I submitted some months ago called Braced for Impact. It was about tires squealing behind me while at a traffic light, and seeing a gray car sliding toward my vehicle's passenger side, and then seeing debris flying through the air. I gripped my steering wheel and braced for the impact, which never came. Afterwards, when I looked around, there was no gray car, no debris. It was very strange. On the drive home, I noticed several unusual things. But the weirdest was a road that I had never seen before, even though I'd lived in that area for years. I didn't drive down it at the time because I was already freaked out enough. Well, I recently got my nerve up, and when the opportunity arose, I turned down the road that I didn't recognize. I honestly thought it would be an ordinary place. It wasn't. At first, there were fields and a few houses. Pretty normal. As I drove on, the houses began to look strange with very unusual architecture. And then I noticed there were no people visible. It was close to 6 p.m., and somebody should have been arriving home from work. There were no children playing. Nobody was tending a garden or cutting grass. There were no dogs anywhere and no animals in the fields. I don't think the birds were even singing. It was so quiet. I kept going. There were more houses, but still no people. The road turned, and I followed it, and more of the same. It turned again, and I ended up back at the main road where I had turned off. I decided to get out of there. It was too eerie, like an abandoned movie set or something. As soon as I reached the main road, there was traffic and people again. Later, I looked up the mysterious road online, and pretty much all of the houses were built in the early 2000s. One house dated to the 1950s. I don't plan to drive over there again. It just doesn't feel right. There are lots of strange things in this matrix, and I guess that particular road is just one more of them. I adore listening to your stories. Watching your videos has been a bedtime tradition for me. I have to watch or I can't fall asleep, so I have to thank you for your content. Thank you very much for that. I've been a hardcore skeptic when it comes to glitches in the Matrix stories, until this happened to me. Now I'm not sure what to believe. My story's really short and not scary at all. Honestly, it's kind of boring, but it's been in the back of my mind constantly since it happened to me. For a little bit of background, I have 3 daughters, 13, 4, and 2 years old. And they're constantly running around playing, and the objects that I have hung on any of my walls will regularly get knocked down as they run like a stampede through the entire house 24/7. I bought a life-size skeleton for a Halloween decoration about 5 years ago, and I instantly hung it up on my wall in the bedroom to mess with the kids. And needless to say, they loved it all season. Right after Halloween, I had taken it down, and my kids were beyond unhappy with me for packing bones away with the rest of the Halloween decorations. I caved and hung it right back up, and it's been in the same spot all year long, and has been there for over 5 years. The kids would decorate and dress the skeleton for whatever holiday was coming up. One day, I was the only person home and I was cleaning up, so my children could simply destroy it all again the second they came in the door. I was standing in front of the skeleton, and I bent over to pick something up off the floor. And as soon as I did, I felt something fall onto my back extremely hard. I wasn't expecting it, so once I was hit, it's like my brain quit working for at least 30 seconds. I turned around and noticed it was the skeleton that had fallen off the wall, and it thumped me in the head and back. I was confused. Once my brain came back to Earth, I picked him up and thought the command hook that he was hung on must have broken or come off the wall without looking at it. I just went to grab the new one. Once I came back in with the new hook, I looked up where the hook was, and noticed that it was still there in place, like it had been for years. I picked up the skeleton and lifted it to put him back onto the hook, and that's when I lost it. The hook was still in place, but it was upside down. Trying to find some logical explanation, I went to pull off the hook to see if it was loose and maybe one of the kids were trying to mess with me, and it didn't go as planned. I pulled the hook, and a chunk of my drywall came off with the hook. So, that hook was not manipulated in any way at any time. I don't want to think about what could have happened. So I haven't mentioned this to anyone else out of fear that people will think I'm crazy. But I know what happened. I saw it with my own eyes in my face. Something that is supposed to be impossible happened, and it'll probably haunt my thoughts for the rest of my life. Hi, Raven. Thanks for taking the time to read my story. I just had the quirkiest experience. We use 100% cotton flannel sheets throughout the year. I usually buy 2 sets when they're on sale, about $27 for a full or queen size. I take the 2 top sheets and sew them into a duvet cover. These duvet covers tend to last much longer than the fitted sheets. This way I end up with 2 new sets of sheets and pillowcases for around $60. Duvet covers are quite expensive. Because they're all cotton flannel, some of the pillowcases wrinkle tight at the ends, which drives me crazy. About every 3rd wash, I iron the top part of the pillowcase to smooth them out. While I was ironing, I decided to tackle some freshly washed, badly wrinkled kitchen towels as well. After I finished, I took them to the kitchen to fold and put them away. Our glass-top stove is a great space for folding towels. I try to keep up with laundry, but I'm not the best at sticking to a schedule. Since a bunch of towels had been dirty, leaving the towel drawer sparse, a week earlier I had moved the sink rags from the drawer below to the towel drawer. Here's where things get strange. I emptied the towel drawer onto the counter that meets the stove. This included the rags, then proceeded to folding the towels, then put them back in their drawer. But when I went to put the sink rags away, they were gone. They weren't in the drawer, on the stovetop, the open counter, the floor, or the ironing board. They were nowhere to be found. Finally, I decided to check the drawer under the towels. This meant moving a stool with my foot, which would make noise. I won't touch the stool and then handle the clean towel or rags. I was certain that I hadn't already done this because the stool makes a distinct noise when sliding on the floor, and my husband was sleeping. Somehow, the universe had put them away. They were in their proper spot. One minute they were on the back of the stove, and when I wasn't looking, they vanished. Not to sound flippant, but I thanked the universe for putting them away, and then requested to witness something disappear the next time the universe intervenes. When that happens, you'll be the first to know. I used to think these events were ghostly acts until I started listening to your podcast. Not sure if this falls under paranormal, glitches, parallel universe, or something else. But I do know for the first time I have unequivocal proof that these strange things really happen. Even if I can't prove it to others, I now know. Raven, stay awesome. You have a unique and very cool show. Hope all is well for you and Patience in your new home, and I really enjoyed that scary humanoid episode. Thank you very much. Hey Raven. This story starts with me listening to a quantum jumping hypnosis YouTube video as I go to sleep at night. I get comfortable in bed and listen until I drift off to sleep. Now, the woman's voice say to listen to the video/audio for a minimum of 30 or so days, and even more if necessary, and to be sure to be on the lookout for signs of quantum jumping after every listen. So, I was online looking at something and I happened across something that catches my eye. Alex Winter, the actor of Bill in the Bill and Ted movies, it was about him. I'm looking, and then I went to IMDb, and it said that he was alive, upcoming waiting for the Godot play performance with Keanu Reeves, etc. The thing is, I remember Alex Winter dying, right after the last and third Bill and Ted movie. I vividly remember that, because I thought, well, at least he got to make one more movie with Keanu, or something with that effect. And then this happened about 2 weeks ago, and he was suddenly alive. He even has a new headshot on IMDb. It's supposed to pair with a matching one with Keanu. I even put a pinned comment on my Facebook to the effect of, "Didn't this guy die right after the last Bill and Ted movie?" But no one had answered me, probably thinking, "No, he's always been alive." Well, yeah, I guess you mean in this reality. My last glitch was about a software subscription that I didn't make, and now I have the same thing happening to me on this online AI thing that I use to upscale images. They limit the use of it monthly, but I've been using it with no end in sight. I'm glad it's still working, and I won't say anything out loud because, what if it changes? It's weird, yes, but I think I like it. In this universe. Who knows if I'll be here for long. If I can jump realities and they're infinite, then I've got an idea about where I want to end up. Hi, Raven. I've watched your show a couple of times, and I really enjoy it. Thank you. I have a story of a tiny glitch. I live in Australia, and I do a lot of shopping in thrift stores, and I like to look for unusual things. One-off kind of stuff. One day I found a really unusual belt for just a few dollars. I was so happy with it. It was made of black stretch woven elastic, about 1.5 inches wide. It had a really nice buckle/clasp made of heavy metal in the shape of a bow, in a dark, antique brass color. About a year or so after I bought it, I went to wear it one day, and when I looked in the drawer, I was really, really shocked to find that there were 2 of them. It freaked me out so much. I took a photo of them and sent it to a friend. I've never worn it again, and I thought I had thrown it out as I've moved a couple of times, but I went to look the other day and found it. But only one. Of course, try as I might, I can't find the photo that I sent to my friend. Anyway, thanks for reading, and keep up the good work. So that, my friends, was this week's Glitch in the Matrix collection. As you all know, it's a collection of strange, weird, bizarre stories that some may think are scary, some may think are not, and some may just enjoy them because of what they are. I enjoy doing them, reading them. I enjoy narrating them for you all. You all tend to enjoy them. Well, a good portion of you, I suppose. Not everybody. I guarantee not everybody enjoys them, so, yeah. Hopefully, you are one of the few, the few and the many people, whatever. Hopefully you like them. If you do like them, please do hit that like button. That'd be fantastic of you. I'd appreciate that. You can also subscribe to the channel if you're new and liked what you heard. I do content several times a week, typically 3, usually more. Well, let me rephrase that. Usually 3, sometimes more. I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore. I never know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, yeah, so just subscribe if you like this kind of content, because I do a lot of it. You can also join memberships or Patreon to get early access to content like this and other things, depending on how you sign up and what you sign up for. You can do a super thanks, which is a tip to the channel. Never expected, always appreciated. Come on by on Saturday, where I do live streams, typically 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah. I play games, do chat streams, talk with y'all with my other half. Sometimes my friend Ghost shows up and does his part. He's a silly dude. But usually it's just me and Patience. Let me phrase that. Usually it's me and Patience and you all. You listeners. You wonderful people. Yeah. You can also go to astheravendreams.com, where you can send your story in by clicking the button. You can check out all the pages on social media where I am and follow me from there. You can also find the podcast and other platforms on that website. Find all the places you can listen to it in longer form content. Yeah. You can also read stories I wrote that are fiction, but they're good stories. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm feeling kind of foggy in the brain spot right now. You can also send an email with your story to astheravendreams@gmail.com if you don't want to go to the website. That's also accepted. Now, let's wrap this up because my brain's being silly. I think I know I have to go to the bathroom. And maybe that's causing my brain to not want to work. So, who knows? I also need more water and I'm tired. There's that. How many of you yawned just now? Be honest. Anyways, let's move on to the word of the week. On the screen right now is a collection of all the wonderful people who gave me last week's word of the week in a sentence. If you don't know, the word of the week is me giving you all a word, giving you all a word, and then within the week you leave a comment on the glitch video with said word, and I use it on the next glitch video in the end. I put the screenshots up at the end here. So, all these people went above and beyond and are amazing people for doing so, and I genuinely appreciate them. They don't have to do this, and they do. And it's amazing of them to do so. So, yeah. Even if you don't want to, it's totally acceptable and understandable. I don't ever expect anyone to. But thank you to everyone who did. You all are amazing. Let's move on to this week's word of the week. This week, the word of the week is maybe a little harder to use because it has a slightly negative connotation about it. And that is exacerbate. EXACERBATE means to increase the severity, bitterness, or violence of, to aggravate, to embitter the feelings of a person, irritate, or exasperate. So, for instance, with my already prevalent pollen allergies, mowing the grass in the summer exacerbates my allergies, my sinus problems. So, and say use exacerbate in a sentence. Anyways, use it. I'll put your screenshot up next week. All of y'all have a fantastic week. Hope I see you again here very soon. Until then, remember, you are loved, you are valid, you are important, you're the best that you can be. Don't forget it, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Until next time, much love, and of course, sleep well.